It's Last Call Sunday. What's up, everyone? I'm the prop queen, Ariel Epstein. It's week 16 in the NFL. You guys know that week 16 now means that we've got some teams that literally could care less. We've also gotten teams that are going to be in playoff contention and need or potentially have the chance to win and clinch today. A lot of great handicappers coming on the show. Yanni the Greek going to join us. Marco has been on an absolute tear. And we've got, of course, John Murray joining us from over at the Westgate in Las Vegas. Sorry, we had some technical difficulties before, but now I'm not making my mimosa, even though I didn't oversleep. I was here. I actually have a screenshot of it, but StreamYard, I guess, was frozen. I don't know. I'll give you props at the end of the show. We've got contract incentives, some that could hit today. There are props that we need. I've got 3 that I absolutely love. And Shawn Michael, enough. I have the screenshot to prove that I was here at 10:58 a.m. and my StreamYard was just not worth it. Thank you, Tyrone. Thank you. I hope you all also got the chance to see what I did yesterday because my siblings and I did a hilarious JCPenney photo shoot. If you guys ever did it, it's really funny from when you were kids, and we kind of just recreated all those. Go to my X page, Ariel Epstein, you'll see, but no one cares. Let's get to some props. Let's get to some sides, totals, etc. And you know the man to do it. He just came on the Prop Queen pod last week, and it was super profitable to have him on the show. Yanni the Greek joining us as always. Sorry you had to wait a little bit, but good things come to those who wait. The Phillies hat is on. We are locked, loaded, ready to go. Yanni, how was yesterday for you?
Just like the whole week's been going, 4-0 in NFL and college football, 9-2 this entire week. It's that time of year with college football and NFL. Like the market's going to be changed between now and the Super Bowl. It's totally different than it was over the last 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. And there's a lot of opportunity on the board. Today's a perfect example. So yeah, we're ready to go.
Yesterday and today is, at least yesterday, college football playoff, teams all care. Today, there are certain teams that we have to handicap. Do they care? Do they not care? What's the motivational level? How do you change your handicap in week 16?
It's noise. It's noise. You can't quantify it. Like there's 50 plus players that are going to affect each game on both sides of the field. Like, how do I know how each and every one of them feels about playing today? You got to be able to push that noise out of the way and just stick to the data and try to obviously factor in if they're going to be motivated. But these are professional athletes making.
How much are you focusing more on playing the games that matter, the teams that matter versus the ones that don't?
No, I don't really look at that, honestly. Okay. Only because, you know, those must-win games, everybody knows. Must win. You must not be all that good if you're in that situation. Like, we know the line's shaded towards the must-wins. We know about the games that don't matter. Like, all that is – we've had all week to talk about that. Like, sports radio, social media content. Like, all the narrative has been said about which teams care, which teams don't care. But if you look at the betting line, that's all that matters. Like at the end of the day, it's all noise except for that number. Based on that number, is there value on team A or team B? I try to keep it simple. I'm not that smart, so I try not to go later.
Well, it's great that we have you, because aside for one game in the 1 o'clock Eastern time slate, the other games all feature teams that are eliminated. It's the Bucs and the Panthers, a divisional rivalry. They're trying to each fight for the division. They face each other twice in the next 3 weeks. This week, not next week, the week after they'll finish the season. How do you see that game where we did see the Panthers at home as a dog hit a key number of 3?
Yeah, and Carolina got some short money. And no surprise, home dog, divisional play. I haven't touched that game personally. I think the line's set right about where it should be. I mean, on paper, Tampa Bay's much better. I have them about 20th power rating. I have Carolina under 20, like they're in the bottom 5 teams. But on a neutral field, I would make Tampa Bay about 4.5 points better than Carolina. But I add in about 1.8, 2 points for Carolina. Like I say, just edge it off to 2. So that brings Tampa Bay below 3, where they should be about a 2.5 point favor. The NFL, like the sides are so tight. If you're getting a half a point of value on a key number, that's as good as it's going to get in EV. So for me, it's a Carolina or pass in this spot. I haven't bet it because I would have liked to have 3.5. Like if I could get 3.5, I'd bet it blindly. That's not going to be available, I don't think. If anything, it'll probably go to 2.5 in some shops, which may force me then to tease Tampa up, which I don't want to. I mean, then tease Carolina, which I'd like to do. So that's why I'm sitting back. If I may take Carolina +3, I haven't decided yet, but I'm waiting to see if it gets to 2.5 because I'm seeing the +3 juice to -115, -120. So next move means 2.5. That means I could get them. It falls into my plus EV teasers, and I could tease them up to 8.5. That to me would make the ideal bet. If I could get Carolina at +8.5 on a teaser in a meaningful game like this, that's the bet I'm trying to make. Otherwise, I just may let it go. If gun the head, if I had to bet it, I'd take Carolina +3, only because I don't think it should be 3. It should be about a 2-point line move, about a 2-point road favorite, and getting a home team at plus money. I'd look the dog or pass.
Speaking of line move, Bengals at the Dolphins. The line did flip from Miami -1.5 on Sunday to now catching 4.5 at home. The Dolphins. The chat's asking, is Cincinnati toast?
Listen, that line's going to keep climbing. We did see some take back at 4.5 because it's all one-sided. Cincinnati's one of the most one-sided bet teams today. In fact, not only are you going to hear it from anyone that comes on and says, like when John Murray comes on later and gives his needs, I'm pretty sure Miami will be one of them in the early games because it's just so much Cincinnati action. I don't see it. I don't see the reason why I'd feel comfortable laying 3.5, 4 with a team like Cincinnati on the road. Again, this is a team that's won 2 of 7 games. Like, what confidence do I have laying chalk with them? Where I see Miami, the splits, at least I know they play much better at home. So there is some slight home field advantage. And I get it. Cincinnati's coming off getting blown out, getting shut out. So they should be motivated to, after an embarrassing game. But yeah, not a sexy game at all. Another one I haven't bet. If I had to bet it, I would look to the home dog, to Miami or pass. But better games on the board than that.
Let's talk about those better games. Which games did stand out to you, Yanni?
Kansas City stood out. I talked about that all week. That was just so ridiculous. I love placing bets where I know I placed a good bet and I don't care about the outcome. Obviously, I want to win, but as long as I do my job, I know long-term what's going to happen. The numbers don't lie. And with Kansas City, I didn't think that 3 was going to be available on Sunday. It's now 3.5 at the sharpest shops. So my reasoning was on point. And the reasoning is simple. Who cares that Mahomes not in? The drop-off isn't that significant based on Mahomes 2025. Forget Mahomes, Hall of Fame Mahomes. 2025 Mahomes is a different story. And the drop-off isn't that significant. But then you're going to tell me, okay, but they're not motivated. They're not playing for anything. What are you talking about? They're playing the Tennessee Titans. Who wants to lose to Tennessee? They haven't won a single home game all the year. You want to be the team that loses to Tennessee because your starting quarterback's not in? Like, what are the rest of you guys, worthless? I don't get it. Like, to me, that's just nonsense. This is power rating wise, it should be double digits. We already know because fortunately the guys over at the Westgate have the guts to put out an opinion on a number. And what did they tell us? They told us that Kansas City was a 10.5 point favorite in the look ahead line. So now you're going to shade it 7.5, 8 points because of what? The drop off to Mahomes or the motivation? Because I don't know. Has Tennessee been playing for anything since September? I don't think so. So for me, I like Kansas City. That one jumps out at me. What else jumped out at me? The Ravens. The Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll talk about your Ravens later. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm going to ask.
I know the Jaguars are the sexy pick. I get it. And I worry about that, especially that Denver's going through that key number of 3. I didn't want to see that. That scares me a little bit. But I've been saying, again, it's not a disrespect of Denver. I could only tell you what the numbers show. And when I look at the Denver Broncos, they've had a very easy strength of schedule. Only one team has had an easier strength of schedule than the Denver Broncos. And yet, offensively, there's only 10 teams that are worse efficiency-wise. So it's the defense that gets it done for the Denver Broncos. And this week with Jacksonville, I think they're going to have a little bit of a problem. With that total up as high as 47, it also shows me they expect some points because the look ahead was 45. So if Jacksonville's going to be able to score, they're going to be able to stay in this game. I think they'll be able to do that. 3 and a hook, I like it. It sounds square. Like getting Jacksonville 3.5 to me sounds square. But I guess the books must be getting Denver money or it must be really sharp. I haven't seen it in any of the accounts I work with, but I was surprised to see it up to 3.5.
Just so everyone knows, for playoff contention, Jags, they clinch a playoff berth with a win and either a Houston or Indy loss. The Broncos can clinch the division with a win and a Chargers loss. They can also clinch the number 1 seed with a lot of things happening. The Broncos can clinch a number 1 seed and home field with a win, Chargers, Pats, and Bills loss. So there are a lot of things that have to happen, but the Broncos can potentially clinch a number 1 seed and home field advantage, but they certainly can clinch the division today.
Albert just asked favorite play. Listen, I got a 5% going today. We're going for another one, a third in a row. So I can't give that. That's obviously the best play, but I'm going to give you a premium prop. I just sent out to subscribers that I bet. Don't really use premiums and props because the lines move too quickly, but I love this one. And it's Keon Coleman, Buffalo, under 1.5 receptions. I bet it at -110. I bet it -120 and bet it -125 about 5 minutes ago. There's still 120s out there. I don't think it got into the bot yet, so you may be able to get it. But under 1.5 receptions.
I like it. Cleveland, third least receiving yards per game allowed to wide receivers, so that makes a ton of sense. Today. That makes a ton of sense. You said you were going to bring up my Ravens and the Pats. The chat is asking about it as well. The Ravens have not looked great, but they looked great last week against the Cincinnati Bengals. How do you trust them?
I have to look at the numbers, and this is what it tells me, that Baltimore has a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense and a tougher strength of schedule than the New England Patriots. So their only negative for Baltimore is the record. And you have to give them a slight pass there because of the quarterback situation. I mean, that's the bottom line. For New England, again, they're legit. It's just that statistically, they're not impressive. Other than May being top 5 in passing success rate, offensively and defensively, this team isn't barely in top 15, but they're winning football games. Why? Because they're winning the close games. That's unsustainable. I've watched football long enough to know those teams tend to get knocked out of the playoffs if they don't get, if they make it there, and they usually do, because you can't keep winning like that. There's just so much randomness to one-score games. And on paper, Baltimore's the better team. Are they going to go out there and win the football game? They could play 4 hours later and it would be a different result. So I don't know that. But I do know on paper, Baltimore's better offensively, better defensively, has home field advantage, had the better strength of schedule. Everything points that Baltimore should be higher than a 3-point favorite. I make them about 4.5 in this spot, believe it or not. So I think there's value on Baltimore. It worries me a little bit that I'm starting to see risk pile up on Baltimore, public liking the side I do as well. But the market's reflecting it. It's up to 3.5 at the shops I respect most. And that's what I want to see when I get down at an early number. I want to see me getting closing line value. And if you got down early on Baltimore, you're getting that. So I like what I'm seeing there if you like the Baltimore side. But I can't fault anyone for taking New England. Again, New England's been getting the job done, winning football games, but they're not raking you much money ATS because they're not winning by margin. And like I said, the stats just aren't that impressive. They're an 11-3 football team that's one game over 500 ATS. They haven't surprised the market. They haven't surprised the odds makers, meaning they're just winning with the record. You see it in college football all the time. These 10-1 teams that are ranked in top 25, that would be 40-point dogs to Ohio State. And they get exposed when the playoffs come around.
You've been crushing these primetime games, Yanni. It's all over Bet On It at WagerTalk that you have had a great season betting the primetime games. Last week, you said it was too many points. Phillip Rivers coming back, facing Seattle, and you were right by a lot. I mean, that was an easy cover for Indianapolis. Now, the book says, okay, we see you, Phillip Rivers. Monday Night Football, the Niners are only laying 6.5 on the road at those Colts. Now, is it too much? Or is it now, what are your thoughts on the Colts now?
You missed the boat. Like, you had a really good spot to make money. I see it in MMA all the time, in the UFC, where a fighter's undervalued and we bet him for 3 or 4 spots. And then he gets a name, recognition, hype, fight of the night. And all of a sudden, everyone wants to bet him. But unfortunately, the market's already caught up and corrected itself. Perfect example, Merab. You had 2 years to make money with Merab. The last year and a half, you've overpaid. You may have made some money, but you've overpaid. You haven't gotten any kind of discount. That's the problem I have with Indianapolis on Monday night, that you already had your opportunity where they were mispriced based on the drop-off with the quarterback situation. That's no longer the case. But you have a San Francisco team that's coming off 4 straight wins, 4 straight covers, where they were heavily favored in most of those games. I think because of that, you're getting a few more higher number than you would otherwise. You're still getting some line value on Indianapolis. The problem is they played so hard last week and came up short. With a team that has, this is where the motivation matters. Like you came up a big game, you showed up, you were at home, you didn't get the W though. That's the problem. Now you got to get up again, and there's really nothing to play. I mean, yeah, obviously something to play for, but like you got Rivers back there. Gun to head, I take the Colts because I do think the line's a little bit high. I haven't bet this game. We'll see what happens between now and tomorrow. Better games today than that. But if I had to bet it right now, I'd probably take the points with the Colts, just hoping the back door stays open.
Yanni the Greek. I'm sorry I came on a little late today. I had some technical difficulties apparently, but you at least give people another opportunity to see you at noon Eastern time when you're going on the Steam Room. You also said you have a 5%?
Yep. Yeah, in 40 minutes we'll be in there. In fact, I've been holding off ordering my coffee because to do this. Yeah, I've been so busy.
Do you do the energy drink first, then the coffee?
No, I go
always on the energy.
I down 30 grams of protein really fast, and then I start my coffee every day. And today I just had so much going on, I haven't even been able to do that. So I'm not going to make it. I like making my own, so I'm going to order it actually. And I have like 20 minutes in between. Then the Steam Room starts at 9. We're going to go into the kickoff, go through these NFL games. I love this board today. We're staying selective, but I like what's already in there. I'm going to keep firing.
Of course, he loves the board today. It's an ugly one with a lot of teams that we think don't care, but Yanni.
But I'm going to stick around. Hopefully, John Murray comes on next and shares some information. That's gold. That's gold.
It is. The stuff over at the Superbook's gold. Yanni, thank you so much. We'll see you at the Steam Room at noon.
Thanks for having me, Ariel.
As Yanni said, coming on the show now is our very good friend who joins the show every Saturday and is so nice to have waited for 4 minutes of a little bit of delay. John Murray joining us from the Superbook at the Westgate. Hi, JM.
Every Sunday I join the show. Saturdays. You said Saturday.
I did? Oh my God.
Are you all out of sorts this week? What's wrong with you?
I'm at my parents' house. The days don't exist. I felt like yesterday was a Thursday for some reason. Yeah. Today's Sunday. He's on every Sunday. I'm on every Sunday. I am certainly not on Saturdays. Kelly's tried, and I said, no, ma'am. I take at least one day off a week.
Good for you. Who does the show Saturdays? Is that Kelly, your friend?
Yeah, it's Kelly.
Kelly. She's a hard worker. I don't think she has any days off.
No days off for Kelly in Vegas' world. No. She's at her dad's.
And she never stops. I think
she took Christmas off-ish.
Oh, did she? She never stopped sweating these. She never stopped sweating these games either. Have you noticed that?
She went to bed last night, though. She went early to bed. She said.
Well, that college game last night was pretty good. That was pretty good stuff. You wouldn't want to miss a good competitive game.
Cover by JMU.
It's real competitive. I didn't even know that JMU had covered until this morning when I got into work. I was like, oh, great.
I was actually watching the NFL game. That was a pretty good game that the NFL scriptwriters did really good job. I'm sure you saw that.
I did see the final score. I did see the final score.
Chris Thurston, our good friend CT Bats,
Chris is
has
great.
A theory that the Ravens are going to win today because the NFL wants to make sure it's Ravens Steelers to close out the last game of the season for the division. And then, of course, the loser goes home. So
they always need
one.
They need one Sunday night game. For like week 18, all the games basically suck, but they have to have one good game for Sunday night football. There's always one game that they put into that slot that decides a division.
Yeah, and it's not even as if the team makes the wild card. If they lose, the loser goes home.
I think the Chargers play the Broncos week 18 as well. And that could potentially.
But that could also result in a team making the playoffs. Like the loser could still make the playoffs, just not win the division.
The loser would still be a wild card. That's a good point.
Right. Okay. So it could be Ravens Steelers to end the year. But yesterday felt very similar to that with the Bears and the Packers. By the way, after that game, now that the Bears are in the lead for that division, how did the Westgate Superbook look at that division between the Packers and the Bears?
Well, I'll have to look at that because I don't know. I didn't watch 1 second of the Packers-Bears game, but I can look it up.
No numbers.
We got the divisions closed right now, but I know the Bears, huge win for them, terrible for us, obviously, of course, it's NFL. Not what we wanted at all, but I understand that they they kicked a field goal, then they got an onside kick. Is that correct? Because the kid with the stupid helmet fumbled it. Great. And then they won. They got a 4th down touchdown. Is that what happened?
It was 2 insane catches and throws.
Excellent.
I'll give Caleb Williams some credit.
Excellent. And then they won in overtime. I guess Chicago now. How long is Jordan Love out for?
Well, he's got a concussion. So
those guys play the whole season with a concussion. That doesn't matter.
It really just depends on how bad the concussion is and how badly they want to win next week, I guess. And the Ravens aren't going to care if they win tonight because that game doesn't matter next week.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that about the Steelers too, where basically the games that they're playing now don't really matter.
Well, I think they would like to have one more game up on the Ravens because if the Ravens did lose today, which the Steelers won't know that going in, but if the Ravens lost tonight and the Steelers won, there'll be 2 games up on the Ravens.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, well, I mean, the way people are betting that game here at the Westgate, at least,
the Steelers and Ravens.
I'm talking about Steelers and Lions.
Oh, how are they betting it?
Nobody thinks that the Steelers care, apparently, because all the money's on Detroit. I think Pittsburgh will be our biggest need of the whole week in the NFL. Well, actually, Green Bay was a big need, but
well, we don't care about them anymore.
Steelers, Steelers, really big need. Everyone's betting Detroit. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I missed the big need of every week that never wins. The Raiders. Excuse me. The Raiders are our biggest need. They are plus 14 at Houston. Should be a good game. But the Steelers, it looks like the second biggest need is going to be Pittsburgh in Detroit. And then in the morning, we really need, for whatever reason, we could really use the New York Giants. There's a lot of people betting on the Vikings.
I kind of can see that game playing out in the Giants' favor a little bit.
Well, you got, I like that quarterback in Minnesota, 9, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah.
They're betting Minnesota. We need the Giants in that one. Your hometown Giants.
Yes, the hometown Giants that I don't root for.
And then I really think tomorrow night it's not like that yet, but I know the way that these things are bet. I know how it goes throughout the weekend. If I see a 5.5 point road favorite on Monday Night Football, which is what we have tomorrow, I know that by the time that game kicks off, we're going to be big Indianapolis fans. I'd be very surprised if we're not big Indianapolis fans tomorrow.
That was a big line adjustment too, because the Colts were catching double digits last week. You guys cut that in half this week.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think last week, it's so easy to say it now, but in retrospect, what a great bet Indianapolis was last week. And I didn't say that on the show last Sunday, but looking back on it, they're at home. They're playing the Colts with a quarterback that's older than me. It hasn't played in 5 years. And they've got the Rams looming 4 days later, Thursday Night Football, in the biggest game of the season. What a great spot for the Colts. So great job by anybody that took the 14 with Indianapolis last week. That's the kind of spot that I think savvier people are looking for and finding.
I was talking to Dr. David Chow, who's very good friends with Phillip Rivers. He came on the Prop Queen pod this week, and Dr. Chow said that Phillip Rivers said he wasn't even sore after the game.
That's pretty impressive. I mean, I know everybody made their jokes, but Phillip Rivers is kind of cool. I mean, basically, he's retired to this farm and he's raising like a stable of future quarterbacks, and he is still capable of being an NFL quarterback. And that's pretty amazing, honestly. I don't know what you could say about Phillip Rivers other than full marks. Very, very impressive.
John, I guess we'll ask the soccer question and we'll go back to football. What do you like in soccer today?
It's a great question. Thank you, sir. There's only one game today in the EPL, Aston Villa, Man United. Villa's having a really good season, so technically I should root against them because Liverpool could be going, battling with them for a position, but they're playing Manchester United. I can't root for Manchester United. I just cannot do that. I cannot do that. So I'm rooting for Aston Villa, even though it's probably not in my best interest. That's being a sports fan. You know how that is, Ariel. They're like, could you ever root for the Red Sox?
No.
Yeah. I'm not going to root for Manchester
Unless I needed to. There are actually some, I saw some fans yesterday, Lions fans, that were rooting for the Bears. So that was
in the division.
Yeah, and I think when, obviously it'd be hard for me to root for the Red Sox, but if they're having a bad year and the Yankees have a chance to win the division and the Red Sox have to beat the Toronto Blue Jays for the Yankees to win the division, I might have to do it.
Well, if Man United winning a game in May would give Liverpool the Premier League, obviously I would root for Manchester United. So
It's
you
always
got
a selfish thing,
you,
which is
you
why
got me there.
today is actually pretty interesting in the NFL.
Oh,
Selfish is week 16, 17, 18 when contract incentives
yeah.
come to a head. How much do you consider the contract incentives when booking these numbers?
I think that week 18 there are a lot of discussions about that from it's a good question by that person. So our we got a team of guys that handle the props, and they're really diving into those props. They do a really good job too. We've done a good job on NFL player props this season, so good job by the guys. And definitely the last week of the year they're looking at that stuff. Like I feel like there was a game a couple of years ago where Derrick Henry needed one more touchdown. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Derek, he
When
needed
it was
one more
like
touch.
minus 280.
Yeah, and I remember because I don't ever really give compliments to their faces. I just yell at them, and they
Are those
everybody
only people you yell at? You don't yell at
everybody.
people.
So everybody knew like this guy just needed to score a touchdown to get some pretty big bonus. I think it was like $1 million or something. And no matter what we made the price, they just kept betting the yes. And of course he got it and we lost. And I was mad at the guys. But they do a good job and they definitely look at that stuff. That stuff's
It's starting
easily.
this week.
Yeah. Is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was more of a week 18
I already
thing, to
bet
be honest.
mine. I'm going to give them out at the end of the show. I already
Ooh.
bet mine, though, so I'm okay with telling you. But I'm
Did
not
you
going to tell you
text?
what they are.
Did you text them to me? What are you doing?
No, I'm not going to tell you what they are. I'm just going to tell you that
great.
I cared and I bet them that way.
Oh, thanks for the heads up. So do me a favor. After they all win, just tell me about how you won, okay?
I will. That's exactly what I'll do. And if they don't win, I'm not going to tell you.
Please, excellent.
And then
excellent.
I'll bet them again next week. What about motivation, though, JM? Like, not even just individual motivation, just how much does that factor into the number when you guys are looking at these games, especially a team like the Chiefs who've been out of it for the first time now in like 8 years?
It's a great example. I've talked about it this week on a few shows. Who knows what they're going to do? I mean, when was the last time that Kansas City was playing an NFL game that didn't matter unless they were just resting for the playoffs? They've done that before. But this is an actual meaningless game. Our look-ahead line on this game was more like 10.5, 10. Now we're at Chiefs -3, -116. Saw sharp players on Tennessee +4 early in the week, but other groups rejected that play as we got closer to the weekend. Really sharp account laid Kansas City -150. There's money both ways, sharp money both ways.
Wow.
I don't know. To me, there's got to be somewhere else to put your money. I heard Yanni in the previous segment talking about that with the Indianapolis game. It's like who really knows how motivated Kansas City is going to be? Tennessee is a team that has nothing to play for. That's probably better off losing.
Unless they really want to get a home win. They still haven't gotten a home win yet.
Okay, I mean that's fair, but I mean they'd be better off if we live in a world where we assume that Cam Ward is their future quarterback, which I figure he is. They're better off losing, getting a higher draft pick, and then trading it down for a bounty of draft picks to some team that needs a QB. So and I don't know. It just seems to me like you got two teams. You don't know their motivation level. Isn't there somewhere else you could look on this board today? Maybe you got Tampa Bay, Carolina, a game that has enormous division implications, and you're getting a full effort out of both teams. That's probably more of what I would do.
Speaking of, the Bucks have not covered a spread in like the last 6 weeks. How do you see that game with the Panthers actually catching that key number of 3?
It's an interesting game. Carolina really blew it last week. They'd had a bye the previous week. They're at home they were at New Orleans, but they were off a bye week and they had a chance to take a stranglehold on that division, and they blew it. Now they come back home. They're a small dog against Tampa. Did see some really sharp accounts play Tampa at -2.5, but a lot of money on Carolina at +3. So it looks like a game we just don't want to see Tampa Bay win by 3. Oof. That's kind of where we're at in that game. That would be
Kelly's QB. Talking bad about Baker.
Kelly's QB is Baker Mayfield. Kelly's kind of your friend Kelly. She's kind of all over the place. No, like she loves somebody one week and she hates them the next week.
That's
she's
why
very,
it's an honor for her to love us every week.
oh yeah, she's a very emotional young lady, I think.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The chat saying, Shawn Michaels, stop spreading rumors. I'm not pregnant. It's impossible, actually. I'm not pregnant. Sorry. So that was weird. That was really weird. They said I'm glowing like a pregnant woman.
Well, I think you're glowing because you're so excited about another riveting week of NFL.
I'm glowing because I have a ring light in front of me.
Well, don't you think? I'll tell you what. I'm glowing a little bit because the charity invitational part of the college football playoff is over. Like the charity invite stuff is over. Now we can actually play the real games. So that's
Anything
good.
early stand out
That's
to you?
good. Not really. I mean, there was a little bit of money on Alabama. Alabama plays Indiana in the Rose Bowl. A little bit of money on that, but I think it's just good to get through that first week. It was just ridiculous nonsense. It was an embarrassment.
A lot of games weren't that great. Like the Miami game really should have been the night game last night.
Yeah, well, it's just bad when two of the games are pretty much over in the first quarter.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can just watch a few drives and you're like, oh my God, this isn't even. So yeah, I'm glad that. I mean, I'm glad we did our part where we didn't hurt anybody's feelings and we got the teams in. No one's feelings were hurt, and now we can actually move on to the real games. That makes me happy. That makes me glow.
And I know that here on WagerTalk, they'll have all that talk on Bet on It. John, any totals that stood out that you guys need?
Let me see, because your friend Kelly told me that usually when I give you the totals, they do better than the sides.
Yeah, recently.
That's what Kelly said. It looks like we'll need the under in your game tonight. Your game, Baltimore hosting New England. That line's actually gone up to 3.5. That's one that I should have run through as a sharper play. Is Baltimore. Baltimore going from 2.5 to 3.5. That's a very significant line move.
That is.
So I'd say Baltimore for sure, and we will need the under in that game. Although that's pretty common. I think the people out there should understand that. Very normal for us to need the under in a primetime game. I don't know how meaningful that is. We'll want the under in the Pittsburgh game as well. Pittsburgh-Detroit, afternoon game. Detroit, seemingly when they're at home, their offense races up and down the field.
Yeah.
See what they look like today. We'll need under 52. 52 is a big number for a Steelers game.
That's a big number.
Isn't that? I mean, that's a lot of points for the Steelers.
But they're not
exactly an explosive offense.
No TJ Watt.
And no TJ Watt. Good point. Yeah, good point. So, yeah, I think there's an expectation there that the Lions will be able to run up and down the field. But can Pittsburgh score back? I don't know.
Well, I can't. The chat is killing me today. I really need to shut it off because I don't like these rumors.
What do they say about you now? Is it something about an island?
No, not yet, actually. But it said if Epstein's pregnant, Ravens will finally beat Tomlin in the regular season when it matters.
Why are these guys asking if you're pregnant? What's the matter with your fans?
I don't know. Usually men don't want you to be pregnant. Like, then you're still available. Which I'm not available to any of you in the chat. Sorry, because you're telling me I'm pregnant. And it's fake news. Fake news. How's money coming in on Chargers Cowboys?
Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty interesting game. And early on in the week, there was some real sharp money on Dallas that moved us up to about 2.5, money line plus 120. And then we saw late in the week, I'm talking like yesterday, Saturday, some really sharp accounts taking the Chargers, taking plus 120 on the money line, taking 2.5. We need Dallas right now because we took some bigger bets on the Chargers yesterday. So we'll be rooting for the Cowboys. That game will be on sound here at the Westgate Superbook in the morning. Good one. Pretty good one. I kind of like watching the Chargers play because I love Jim Harbaugh.
I love Jim Harbaugh.
I love Coach Jim Harbaugh. I think he's funny. I think the whole bit with him is funny. I like it all. I enjoy all of it.
The Ravens actually this week released a video of their head coach, John Harbaugh. Apparently, he's the first person at the gym, 5 a.m. every morning.
And how old are the Harbaughs now, man? They got to be like mid-60s.
They're in their 50s. Right? No. Oh, maybe.
I think they're older than that because
my mom has a crush. 63 for John.
Okay.
Jim, 61.
That's a little younger than I thought because you're a little too young for this, but I remember
mom has a crush on John. No offense to my dad.
I remember Jim Harbaugh as the Bears quarterback when I was a kid, going to the sideline and Mike Ditka just eviscerating him on the sideline. And then I can remember him being the Colts quarterback. He got them to an AFC Championship game. They lost to Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship game. I mean, this is like 30-some years ago.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's true. But 30-something years ago, they were my age. So we are people too in our 30s, John Murray.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No,
People in
30s
their
are good.
30s are also people.
I
We're
agree.
just not
I
well
agree.
established all the time. John Murray over at the Westgate Superbook, ref ball aficionado. Thank you for coming on the show today. Hopefully
Love
the
the
Ravens
NFL.
don't get murdered by refs again.
I can't wait to talk to you about week 17 next week, Ariel.
Oh, yeah. At least we're just 1 week closer to baseball. 1 week closer. Thanks, John. Coming on now, last, certainly not least, he's been on an absolute tear over at WagerTalk's Bet on It. That's why we've had him on with Yanni the Greek. We've given Kelly the day off. It is Marco D'Angelo. Marco in Vegas is where you could find him. Marco, happy Sunday.
Hey, Ariel, how you doing today?
I'm good, and now it's kind of crazy because I was hoping your Steelers would lose, no offense. John Murray just saying that they really need Pittsburgh today. How confident are you in those Steelers?
Well, I heard the segment with John, and what John was talking about where the Steelers really don't need this game. Actually, I planted that seed in his head on Friday, and what I meant when I said that was when Pittsburgh won on Monday night against Miami, that win on Monday night guaranteed no matter what Pittsburgh does this week or next week, the final game still will be for the division. Now, obviously, if Pittsburgh wins a game before the final game against Baltimore and Baltimore, stubs their toe along the way, then they have the 2-game cushion, and that's going to ruin that final game on that Sunday. I think this is a horrible spot for the Steelers today, Ariel, because they're playing off the short week. And let's be honest.
It was a tough stretch, too. They had to face Buffalo, Baltimore, then the short week. It's rough.
Absolutely. And that game last week, throw the game out against Miami. Okay, that was a warm weather team that wanted no part of playing in the frigid cold. Tua, I don't know what he was doing, and he played so bad that it finally got him benched. They sat him down for the rest of the season now. And for Pittsburgh to go into Detroit, that defense is going to get exposed. And that's why John's seeing everybody betting the over. And you brought up the good point, well, you need 2 teams to hit an over. Okay. Well, no, you don't. Not if you play a team total. I'm taking Detroit team total over 28.5 because this is a Pittsburgh spot. TJ Watt's out. There's another injury on the defense. This is the one for Pittsburgh. If there is a throwaway game on the short week, you're going to do it against Detroit. You're playing them indoors, perfect weather conditions. That offense for Detroit, and Dan Campbell never takes his foot off the gas. That's not his MO. Right. So he'll keep pushing up the field. Pittsburgh is going to look for the final 2 games. They get the win against Cleveland, and if Baltimore loses one of the 2 games before then it's over. But if they're going to need a game, they're going to go all out next week against Cleveland before the Baltimore game. This is the throwaway game for Pittsburgh, and that's why John said what he said there. That was me that planted that seed.
I guess my thought is, as someone like a Mike Tomlin, who is a great head coach, despite what Steelers fans are over. I get it. Ravens fans are over John Harbaugh too, because when it's so mediocre for so long, it's time for a change. However, when the Steelers know potentially that they could potentially rest week 18 and go into the playoffs a little more rested, if there's a chance the Ravens lose tonight, then the Steelers are in better positioning going into the playoffs as opposed to mailing this in, which they're not going to know the result of the Ravens game by the time their game is over.
Absolutely correct. So the situation, meaning they could go all out today and Baltimore wins tonight, and it still, it
doesn't matter.
Nothing.
I get it. I totally get what you're saying.
Where I think it's at is they're going to go all out against, Cleveland. And who do you have a better chance of beating? Pittsburgh does not match up well. The defense, go back 2 weeks ago. You should have won the Baltimore game. We talked about that last week. Baltimore had over 400 yards of offense, and that was back-to-back weeks that Buffalo and Baltimore rushed for over 200 yards against the Steeler defense. That's not going to change this week. And now you got to worry about not only a good running game with the Lions, with Montgomery and Gibbs, you got to worry about a passing attack as well. It's a bad matchup, short week. I think, you look to the final two games for the Steelers for them to get the job done. That's where you go all out, not on the short week going into Detroit.
The Ravens play tonight, of course, to get the New England Patriots. We've seen this line moving slightly in the Ravens' favor throughout the week. I heard on Bet On It. Most of you guys seem to be liking my Ravens. It is just so hard for me to not only give them my money for a ticket. I don't mean betting ticket. I mean a seat. I don't even want to pay to watch them play. I don't even want to put my money on them. Convince me otherwise.
I like Baltimore tonight. I think this is a bad spot for New England. If you just look at the numbers for the season, obviously New England has played tremendous, but this is a young ball club. And we talk about so often lose the same game twice. I want to see New England show me that they can pick themselves up off the mat after blowing a 21-0 lead that would have clinched the division, probably gave them, home field advantage throughout the playoffs in the AFC, and they lose that game after blowing that lead. They got to show me that they can go on the road and come back. Now, I know it's been an off year for Lamar Jackson, but we've seen glimpses of it. We saw some of it in the Pittsburgh game. He started to run the football a little more, made some passes last week. Probably the most complete game by Baltimore last week against Cincinnati. Granted, that was against the Cincinnati defense, but I loved Baltimore last week. I like them here again. New England, if you just look at the numbers, though, they've been obviously the more consistent team all year. Drake May's had a great year. Going into last week's game, there was talk of Drake May for MVP, and rightfully so for what he's done. For a second-year quarterback to do what he's done with this team, it's impressive. But now that you lost and you had your statement game, sometimes that creeps in the back of your mind.
You were cracking me up.
Are we as good as we think we are?
You were cracking me up because you said I was sitting there eating my wings, watching this game. I had to dust my fingers off because I thought the Patriots were going to win their statement game against the Bills, and then they ended up losing a 21-point lead. When you thought that way in that moment, even when the Patriots didn't necessarily lose yet, just blowing the lead, you were ready to fade them the next week, no matter who they played?
Yeah, it was a situation that, I started out, I was, if they win that game, I'm going against them even bigger. Okay. But when they lost the game, I'm saying, oh, now I can't do it. Then I started thinking, no, this is the poster child for lose the same game twice. So I said, yeah, I'll still go against them. And then when it sets up that it's a Sunday night game against Baltimore and the season's on the line for Baltimore because, Baltimore can't afford to lose. Now, granted, if Pittsburgh loses earlier in the afternoon, it creates a situation for Baltimore where they can still afford to lose because it's still a one-game difference. But obviously they want to get that game up if they can get it. So I think Baltimore, you're going to have all hands on deck. It's a Sunday night game. Hopefully that crowd is rocking and rolling there for Sunday night and they get the job done. But we need Lamar Jackson to have a clean game. We can't have one of those, 3-4 turnover type games that we've seen a couple times this year that has just been, I know frustrating to you and to the rest of the Raven fans.
Marco, we've talked a lot about games that matter today because there are a bunch of games with playoff implications. Then there are the games that don't matter at all to either team. Have you seen anything in those games that is willing to be that's actionable?
Yeah. What I generally do, Ariel, when you got if you've got two teams that they're out of it, it means nothing. I generally don't get excited too often about playing those games unless there's something else with the situation. And I'll bring one of them up here later. But what I do like to look at in these games is if we don't have weather conditions, generally speaking, the last couple weeks of the season, when you have two teams that it doesn't matter, where you're going to see the lack of effort comes on the defensive side of the football because it takes more effort to play defense than it does to play offense. I'll look to take an over. One of those examples last week, and it was a client play, was I gave the Washington Giant game over the total. Everybody was betting that game under the total, and I went over the total because these were two teams had nothing to play for, and they went up and down the field. So that's where I'll look at. But don't just because the game's on the schedule doesn't mean you got to play every game on the schedule. And I always tell people all the time, you know what? If we take you off of a loser, I did you a better service than giving you a winner. Because if I give you a winner, that's 1 unit. If I save you a loser, it's 1.1 unit, in your pocket differential. And that's what people, fail to, remember. Like today, you want to talk about situational plays, but I can't play this team because they've been in so many situations this year where they look live, but I can't play them. That's the Cleveland Browns. Buffalo is in a major letdown spot after the New England game last week. They got to figure in their minds, they just got to go into Cleveland, show up and win, and they're going to win the game. And you're laying over 10 points. This line has gone to 10.5 now. But Buffalo needs to win. We know that every team that needs to win, Vegas knows they need to win. They know that the public knows they need to win. You're paying a premium for them. So you're getting value with the Cleveland side, but I just can't bet the Browns. So what do? I don't play the game. I move on. I just leave that game alone.
I loved your sandwich spots this entire season. They've been absolute money for anyone that hasn't seen Marco's Deli, bet on it segments with it. I've been cashing a ton, whether it's that, teasing those sides. It's been really great. One of those this week that you brought up, a team that's very, very scary to bet on, the Arizona Cardinals. But the Atlanta
That's
Falcons,
the one I was going to bring up later to you guys. You want to talk about that is the monster of all sandwiches. Okay. Now these are two teams that have nothing to play for, obviously. So a lot of money is going to come in on the over on this game. And I can't disagree with that. But when you talk about a sandwich spot, you look at this Atlanta team, they're out of the playoffs. Teams like that, the times they're going to show up is going to be if they're playing a division game and they can play spoiler, or if it's a TV game and it's a primetime game, a Thursday night, a Sunday night, a Monday night game. They want to show up for that. Well, look what Atlanta did last week. They played on Thursday night. So not only was it a primetime TV game, they played Tampa Bay where they got to play the role of spoiler. They beat Tampa Bay in come-from-behind fashion. It was a crazy game. They got the game-winning field goal on the last play of the game. Now they got to go on the road for a second week in a row. How do you get excited to go to Arizona? And then you look at what does Atlanta have on deck? They get to play the Rams next week on Monday Night Football. We got a TV sandwich, okay? Thursday night, Monday night, and in between you're going to Arizona. I'm sorry. If Atlanta shows up today and is able to win a second week in a row on the road against a garbage team that they shouldn't even be excited about, kudos to them. They'll get my money.
I am scared to do it, but I'm going to definitely use it in a pick'em contest. The Arizona Cardinals. I absolutely love the spot that you're mentioning about two teams that don't care. Marco, what are you promoting today?
Well, we do have a 5% play over at WagerTalk. I've got 3 plays loaded right now at WagerTalk, and it has been just an incredible 7-week run that we've been doing. Yesterday, we went 3-1. The one, oh my, I had Green Bay. That was the one loser yesterday. You want to talk about, just brutal. Pure torture. And I swear to God, I felt like I was the only person in the Sportsbook, the casino I was at yesterday, that had a ticket on Green Bay. It was just all Chicago Bear fans yesterday.
I hate betting the same team, like the same result to happen, especially a divisional game that happens twice in the same month. I just hate those games. I always bet the other, and I don't mean sides. I mean props. Like, me, I only really bet props. Yeah. I bet the other side of props throughout that game. And I was actually upset. I had their Green Bay quarterback Jordan Love over his rushing yards, and look at what Malik Willis did when he came in.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it was sickening to watch the way they blew that game. But, 3-1 yesterday. We've been on a run for 7 weeks. We're up over 80 units for our clients in the last 7 weeks. My 5% plays going back to February of 2024, last year. So we're almost 2 years now. We're 40-17 when we release a 5% play. We got one of those today. You can get it by itself for $35, but that's silly. For $4 more, you can get a one-day all access pass and get all of the plays that we have today. So head over to WagerTalk.com right now to get that play, and let's keep cashing tickets.
Keep it going. And Marco, I'm going to be asking you to come on the Prop Queen pod next week, just so you know. So get ready for my message. I'm asking you to come on the show. You're on an absolute tear. Marco, thanks as always. We'll see you next week.
Okay. Take care, Ariel.
Make sure to get his 5% play and follow him over at Marco in Vegas. We've got NFL player props and contract incentives to get to. I know John Murray said that they look at it a lot more in week 18. I am the same. I typically do. However, for the teams that have nothing to play for today, I really enjoyed some of these. You could catch all of my contract incentives over at thepropqueen.com at my newsletter. So go check that out. I'll give you guys a few, starting with my favorite one of the day, which I mentioned for free to all of my subscribers, which was Rico Dowdle over his receiving yards. So everybody in the headlines today is talking about how Rico Dowdle can make $1 million off his contract incentives, which is true. However, he needs yards from scrimmage. So Rico Dowdle can make $1 million bonus for 1,350 scrimmage yards. He's currently at 1,237. Dowdle needs 113 yards from scrimmage to hit his $1 million bonus. He's on a 1-year deal worth just under $3 million, which isn't high for a lot of players. So he really could be making half his salary in bonuses if he cashes the scrimmage yards bonus. Tampa Bay is allowing the most receiving yards per game to running backs at just under 56 receiving yards a game. 65% of running backs have gone over their receiving yard prop against the Bucs. When Rico Dowdle's been up against teams that are bottom 10, aka allowing some of the most receiving yards per game to running backs, he's had 56 against Dallas, 28 against Miami, 21 against the Rams, and 36 against San Fran. This number at 13.5 is way too low for a player in a meaningful game, in a great matchup for himself, going up against the Bucs, that can also be making $1 million. At least start cutting into that incentive. We're not going rushing plus receiving. We're just going over 13.5 receiving yards for Rico Dowdle today. Some other incentives that stood out. Keenan Allen, his props 3.5. The book knows he needs 3 to go to make $250K. He's at 68, 69, 70. So he has to get 71 catches. He is at 68. He makes $250K if he does it. Keenan Allen's also at 680 receiving yards. He needs 750 to make another $250K. He's currently at 4 touchdowns. He needs 6 to make another $250K. Another one that makes some sense today. Oh, I love this one. Marquise Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is at 5 touchdowns. He needs 6 to make $750,000. His anytime touchdown prop today is plus 425. And I looked. I know it's not Patrick Mahomes. It's Gardner Minshew. On props.cash, it showed me that when Marquise Hollywood Brown has been with Gardner Minshew, both times Hollywood has scored a touchdown. Plus 425. I put $100 on it today. I loved it. So those are just a few of the contract incentive player props that stood out to me today. I mentioned it fixer time. I said Rico Dowdle over receiving yards today. He's going to start dipping into getting closer to the $1 million. He needs to go over 100. He needs 113 yards, scrimmage yards. He's so I would say against the Bucs, who struggle against pass catching backs, go over receiving yards today. Again, it's scrimmage yards. It is not just rushing yards. So make sure to check those out. Again, thepropqueen.com. I have my full list of all of the contract incentive props that stood out, all of the props for today that stood out, because not everything is about just the contract incentives. There are actually still good matchups out there where you could bet those props. I gave out the 1 o'clock games already. I'm going to go do the 4 o'clock and night games right now, but those were some for the early slate of games that you could check out for contract incentives. I hope you all have a great holiday. If I don't see you guys, I hope that everyone has a profitable Sunday. Thank you, Yanni the Greek, Greek_gambler. Vegas Murray John Murray from the Westgate for giving us the needs of the day, and the absolute on fire Marco D'Angelo. Marco in Vegas is where you can find him on X for giving us some plays of the day. See you guys Thursday, actually, for Christmas Day. Prez and I are going to be doing some WagerTalk stuff while, the Jews are going to be working while everyone celebrates Christmas. So if you need any Christmas action, we'll get you covered on Thursday, and we will be back here next Sunday, of course, for week 17. Good luck today, everyone.